Inspired Talks of Swami Vivekananda. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suray Sachit Sukha Swarupaya Swami Netapaharine. We have been discussing what Swamiji talked with his disciples on July 14th, and it was a Sunday. We have reached towards the end, and we have been discussing quite a few things. Swamiji has been talking about physics, metaphysics, abstraction, generalization, and it will continue. We need to remember that Swamiji was talking freely, and Ms Waldo was taking down the notes. She took down the notes according to her understanding, although Swamiji had seen that note. Swamiji will be talking here about generalization and abstraction. Now, before getting into this subject, let me tell you a very interesting conversation that I had today with one of my brother monks. He's a great scientist, uh, coming from physics background, say cosmologist. So I was telling him that look, there is a fundamental difference between science and religion. I mean Vedanta. This is very, 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 very fundamental. And by fundamental we mean that at the lowest level, not at a very high level, in the very beginning itself, physics and metaphysics, they part ways. Although people don't even realize this and people don't talk about it. And we had monks who used to talk about science and religion. Now, when Swamiji was talking about compatibility of science and religion, he was talking from an entirely different perspective, which we will mention. But as far as science and religion, these two subjects are concerned, they say goodbye at the time of their birth itself. I'll give you a very, very, very simple example, which each one of you, every listener, knows from childhood. Childhood, I mean school days. Think of the famous discovery of law of buoyancy. When Archimedes was asked to find out whether there was some mischief committed in the crown that was made of gold, and Archimedes, he was in a bathtub, and he found out law of buoyancy. And it is believed that there's a story that has come down to us because people like to make wonderful stories of great people. That he ran through the street shouting, Eureka, Eureka. That means this law of buoyancy during the time of Archimedes, who was one of the greatest minds of his time. Those of you who know something about history of science would know that. What was a life-changing discovery, life-changing finding is today taught in classes 6, 7, etc. See how the wisdom of science, which is something great during the time of Archimedes, is now being taught in class 6 and 7. Or think of Newton's great discovery of gravitation, where he felt that the force that makes an apple fall on the ground, that same force makes the sun and earth and all these stars and everything move. What a momentous discovery. Just think what a great thing. How many minds would have understood what Newton was talking about? And That was a time when people used to take science, even physics, as philosophy. So the idea of abstraction in the form of mathematics and formula, it was not appreciated. The then philosophers, they did not like this. And today, most of the things that Newton discovered, and what I discovered is great mind Newton, those things are usually finished by time one enters class 9. Whether it be theory of heat, theory of light, everything that Newton had taught. What does it imply? The great discovery of yesterday in science becomes the most common knowledge today. What was a profound discovery, and which indeed is a profound discovery, becomes the most common knowledge. That means human mind can grasp. Now, can you think of teaching Upanishads to a class 4 student? Can you think of teaching Shankaracharya's commentary to a class 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 students? Believe me, here at my university, and we are one of the best in the country in our Sanskrit department. And I teach one subject to Sanskrit students. So I am on very good terms with these graduate and postgraduate students of Sanskrit. At times I tease them with the subjects that they have studied. So they study in their post graduation Upanishads like Kathopanishad. And I tease them, okay, can you please explain what this mantra means? They know the mantra, they're memorized, they know the meaning, they don't understand. Now, see, in science, not only in science means physics, chemistry, biology, in every subject, what was something great, something profound, subtle, becomes a common knowledge. In spirituality, it continues to be really as profound today as it was 5,000 years, 10,000 years ago. This is where science and religion part ways. Once I had seen one of those cyber posts that we scientists, we study so much, and we think we, even then we feel we know nothing. And these people of religion, they read one small book, they think they know everything. What these people, these scientists, they don't realize that your knowledge belongs to the realm of mind. Once one mind catches it, it can be transmitted orally or just mentally, because there is this theory of simultaneous creation. Once I was talking to a great scientist who works somewhere in America, and I was talking about spontaneous creation, according to which you'll find that in an agricultural field, everything is ready. However, the particular crop is not flowering. One flower blooms, and suddenly the whole field blooms. In fruits also, in rains also, it's spontaneous. The moment it takes just the first one to click, and the rest follows in torrent. So that gentleman told me that as a PhD guide, he tells his students that look, any idea that you are working upon is being worked upon by many minds unknown to you in different universities. Who gets there first becomes famous. Those of you who are interested in the history of science would know of many such things like calculus. Calculus, when Newton was working on it, Laplace was also working on it. Leibniz was also working. There were many, many scientists working. No, not Laplace, Leibniz. No. And then he added, if the idea on which you are working is not being pursued by many more, then this idea is not worth pursuing. Because when the time comes for an idea to reveal itself, first it will descend on the mind of someone, and from there it will spread like wildfire to different minds. Well, many of you, those of you who think you are rational, you may not like to believe it. Now, the moment question of belief comes, your belief will not agree with my belief. I've seen life, I've observed things, I know. Science is all about mind. And because science is all about mind, what is grand today will become the most common thing tomorrow. Spirituality belongs to the world beyond mind. To know that truth, to appreciate that truth, you need to transcend your mind. That is not something possible theoretically. Now, if you want to understand just the theoretical impact of it, if you just have the eureka moment as far as intellectual understanding is concerned, aha, even then, even for that, you need to live in scriptures throughout your life and all day long. Because these scriptures may then kindly reveal themselves to you. You may be able to understand what those words are trying to convey. You will not be a realized person, but at least you will have the understanding of the sentences that you have been studying, that you have been reciting year after year. For example, Gita, the most popular book of the Hindus, the Sanskrit shlokas. If you have been reciting the Gita on a daily basis, you can read the meaning, you can read the translation, and you know what those verses mean. But you will not understand. Believe me, way back in 82, 83, when I was studying Gita for the first time, I felt I understood it. Then in 86, 87, I was in our training center of the Ramakrishna Mission, Belur Math. Then I am confirmed that I have now understood it. In 90s, I was studying, then I thought, I have understood it. It has been going on, and then I used to laugh. How stupid I was to think that I had understood it. You cannot. If you are living in those scriptures all day long, throughout your life, some of those truths may reveal themselves to you, and you will become blessed to yourself, not yet for the world. Because to be blessed for the world, you need to have God reveal himself to you. And that's a very rare thing. This is where lies the importance of studying scriptures. Unless you are into it all the time, there's no hope that you can understand it. And this is where physics and metaphysics they part ways. Physics can be understood by even young minds. Metaphysics cannot be. You don't know who will understand that. However, so coming back to our knowledge, Swamiji is here talking about certain things which put very simply, put Put it in very simple way. The discussion that I was mentioning, what Archimedes, Galileo, Newton considered a great invention, a great discovery, was passed on for us. And we studied and understood those things when we were hardly in class 6 or 7. We were very young. When it comes to the world, putting things in a very, very, very simple way, there is particularization. Here is this pen, and here is this microphone. These are particulars. And this pen is also a particular. This is a particular pen that I bring for the class, that I often use. And then there is generalization, where you have pens. Particularization comes from the basic information. Normally for us, we lead our life, we run our life based strictly on particularization. We know this is my food. We know these are my parents. We know these are my friends. Particularization. Science goes higher up. It goes towards generalization. Those of you who have knowledge about periodic table or structure of atom, a periodic table is a very good example actually, where they generalize things in such a way that every matter that you can think of in this world was brought on a single page, single periodic table. When I first read about periodic table, I think I was in class 9 or so, and I was amazed. See, every form of matter that we know of till date, they've been categorized, generalized, and put on a single page. Amazing. However, physics is not the last word, because physics goes by generalization. Better the generalization, better is the law that they propose. Because unless it is the truth, it is not even a law. We say law of gravitation, we say law of motion, but they're not even laws, they're just models. Theory of relativity. Theory is at least a good word because it's just a model. Tomorrow you may come up with some finding. For example, say, take the case of laws of gravitation. Newton was pretty audacious person. He was extremely proud, arrogant. Humility was not his virtue. And he had no qualms about taking the discoveries and findings of others, making some alterations, additions, and passing those things on in his own name. No, I'm not saying that he was not a great scientist. He was a great, great, great scientist. No, no doubt about it. But he also had that. So whatever he did, he would say law. Law of heat, law of light, everything was a law. And this made science so arrogant, it started playing God. And Newton would not have even imagined that barely 300, 400 years later, someone is going to come who will turn every understanding of the universe that we have. Forget about the laws, the basic common understanding, the common sense understanding, even that is going to be overturned. That is when Einstein came. And Einstein did not know that lots of things that he was thinking on a particular line was going to be overturned by quantum physics. Why? Why? Why physics keeps evolving? Why? When we are swearing by science, we find that even before you have understood a particular theory, or whatever name they give, it gets corrected. There was this great physicist, Stephen Hawking. He had given lots of theories. And just yesterday, I was reading that some of his theories have been proved correct. That means even he was not very sure. Mathematical equations were taking somewhere wherever he reached, or intuition, etc., whatever it is. So, where lies the problem? Problem lies in generalization. Science is practically as ignorant as a common man, practically, not fully. The difference lies in the fact that a common man goes by particularization, whereas a scientist goes by generalization. Now, when you have generalized, you have really gone very high. According to the laws of grammar, there are certain categorization that can be made according to the species, according to certain qualities, like that. Religion is completely beyond any kind of generalization. True religion is abstract, it's pure abstraction. I don't know if I've been talking things which are slightly difficult. There are very interesting stories about this generalization and abstraction. Abstraction is something that we don't understand. When they call abstract art, they're just giving name to something new. There's a joke, very, very interesting joke I remember, that there was a meeting of the joke telling club where members used to come and tell jokes. So one gentleman who was a new member, he went there. I found that someone would come to the stage and just say a number, something like 35, and everyone would go on laughing. So he asked his friend, "What is all this about?" Say that, "See, since we all know jokes, he just tells a number and we all laugh because we all know what that joke is." And then someone got up and said 11:30, 11:36, something like that, or 11:37. And the whole hall, the entire hall erupted in clapping and laughing. So this gentleman asked, now what? Why so much of laughter? He said, "It's a new joke which none of us has heard about. So everyone is laughing." There is a generalization. Here is abstraction. People knew it. But it's not really abstraction in the sense that religion talks. It's abstract in the sense of abstract art. You're saying something which no one else will understand. Maybe some artists will understand. Most equations in mathematics today, we have some people from mathematics, only they understand in their guidance and no one else understands. And if they have any application or not, even that is not understood. And sometimes there are applications, but the entire process is not understood. A government is pouring billions of dollars all over the world in particle physics, nuclear physics, and we know nothing about what exactly is happening. There is a jargon that only they understand. Where lies the problem? Problem lies that when they are talking about abstraction, they are actually talking about generalization. Only Vedanta in its true form, religion in its true form, talks about abstraction. Rest everything is generalization. If you have to understand the difference between physics and metaphysics, know that even physics, highest of science, is way below religion. Why? We are talking about generalization. Religion in its highest form goes for abstraction. What is abstraction? Abstraction is something like a template. It's like a template. You have a template Make use of it to make as many copies you want, and just make slight changes. Slight changes. Uniqueness comes. This uniqueness is complexity. This uniqueness is variety. The world is all about variety. There is variety, there is complexity. If you, well, as the complexities and as the varieties increase, particulars increase. More particulars you know, more knowledgeable you are in the world. But to be a scientist, you need to start taking things backward towards more simplification. And when you reach that level of generalization where you feel that you have reached kind of template, near template, because you really cannot reach that ultimate template, you're a scientist. But Vedanta goes one step further. It goes to the level of ideas. Something which you can understand only if you have lived in this life of Vedanta for years together. Till then, these are mere words. Yes, Swami talks about treeness or the idea of tree, something that we have been discussing many times. Idea of tree. Those of you who have some background in botany, you know that when you talk of, say, a mango tree, you say Mangifera indica. You say Mangifera indica. And through that generalization, you know about all the mango trees. You go to a farmer, he doesn't know Mangifera indica. He knows the particulars. He knows this is Chausa mango, and this is Langra mango, this is the Shari mango. No, it's more and more variety. But to be a scientist, you know that this is Mangifera indica, it has these characteristics. Because if you say just mango tree, that again is confusing because mango tree becomes more like the word of a farmer. And sometimes they also use such words just to impress people like us who don't have much knowledge about that particular subject. However, the same thing when it goes to a Vedantin, he'll talk about mango-ness. There's mango, different kinds of mangoes that a farmer knows. And there's this Mangifera indica that a botanist knows. There's mango-ness that a Vedantin understands. Mango-ness, or as Swamiji says, treeness. This is an idea. This is an abstraction. This abstraction in which you can go on adding different flavors, different colors, different tastes. No. Different kinds of mangoes will keep on coming out. Treeness or the idea of tree found out among trees, knowledge. And the highest knowledge is one. Some talks earlier we had mentioned how every existence ultimately is perceived by the mind. Those of you who are interested can even listen to our talk on Vedanta that's given in Mandukya Karika. We have just started the series, and those of you who have taken admission in our Indian Spiritual Heritage, you should definitely listen to Mandukya Karika series. There you will see that everything, this microphone, this pen, these are particulars. When you go back, this is generalization. When you go further back, there is abstraction. And there is this existence-ness, which is existence. This is known as Sat, pure existence. As you add complexities to this pure existence, creation keeps on expanding, expanding. One who knows that ultimate one, actually it is beyond 1 and 2, and it is beyond 1 and 0, which we have discussed in the past. If need be, we will discuss again. When we were kids, when you were a kid, you'd see something and ask your parents or someone who was taking you around, your guide, your Scot, what is this? What is that? What is this? And you'd wonder, you'd marvel at the knowledge that your parents possessed or the knowledge that your teachers possessed. So I still remember when I was growing up in my village, I was maybe in class one or two, I was a young kid. And I asked one of my relatives, brothers, that whether or not he understands what date today is. It was a very fascinating thing. The idea was, can you read a calendar? He said, yes. I found it very surprising because I thought that the idea of date comes from a book. It's a strange. I was just hardly maybe in class one, or maybe I had not even started studying. But I remember that. I still remember that. That how do you know what date today is? So he said calendar. I was under the impression that calendar is a book, kind of books that there were in the house. It amazes. But you're knowing complexities, you're knowing the particulars. When you generalize it, you'll become a scientist. But the ultimate generalization is abstraction. An abstraction in that state, just one. That is religion. When people ask that science and religion contradict each other, absolutely true. We know that science is a much lower thing because of this. You'll say, what are you saying? Scientists definitely know much more than any of you monks together, no doubt about it. Most farmers know much more than a scientist knows about, say, mango tree. Most scientists have just knowledge of, theoretical knowledge of plants. A farmer, an illiterate farmer, has much more knowledge about trees and plants and problems related with those things. It's just like that. Scientist is great because he has mastered the art of generalization. A Vedantin, true Vedantin, I mean, not one those who have been vomiting out their ill-digested knowledge. Those who have understood that oneness, those who have reached that level of abstraction. See, the next sentence coming from Swamiji is so devastating. Personal God is the last generalization of the universe, only hazy, not clear cut, and philosophic. By one sentence, Swamiji has cut at the root of every dualistic religion, every dualistic philosophy, every dualistic system. Because the moment you talk of personal God, in whatever form you take, in the form of Shiva, in the form of Krishna. Those of you who have been nowadays shouting a lot about Krishna is the only God, they don't even realize that when you say that Krishna is the God, you are talking about a personal God, because Vedanta does not accept a personal God. It says that personal God is there, no doubt, but it is same as the impersonal. When you say personally, impersonal, they are same. However, when it comes to Semitic religions, it becomes disastrous. Because personal God then becomes a generalization. Generalization means he belongs now to the realm of mind. If he belongs to the realm of mind, we just discussed, it's an inferior thing. Anything that belongs to mind is an inferior thing because there is generalization. When you say creation comes from God, it's generalization. When you say we all have come from God, it is just generalization. Generalization that stops at God. In the same way that all mangoes have generalization stopping at Mangifera indica. In passing, let me tell you, that's the only thing I remember from biology, because in most throughout my life I failed in biology, and once I even got -2 out of 50. because I just could not mug up things. I've been very poor at mugging up things. The only thing I remember from my biology classes was that mango is known as Mangifera indica, and that was enough to put me off. That why call mango Mangifera indica? Maybe Homo sapiens, but Homo sapiens I learnt later. There's the relationship between physics and metaphysics, even personal God. If you think of your God as the God, THE caps, you have brought your religion down to the level of mind. Anything that belongs to mind is simplistic. That is why some of these religions, Christianity, I love Christianity because you can talk against them. They will not come charging at you. Have you ever listened to any of the sermons of these Christian fathers? Have you ever tried reading the pamphlets? Things they teach are so simplistic. Things they teach are so childish. Jesus cares for you. To know this, you need a religion. To know this, you need a God. My mom cares for me. So, you are a born sinner. Of course, I don't believe in that. Jesus loves you. Jesus saves you. God looks out. God is in charge. You need religion for all these silly things. But this is how we had looked at God when we were in class 3 and 4. Have we failed to evolve from that state? And see, if you chance to read the mystics of the Christian religion, what great people. They were mystics. They had given themselves to the sadhana. Yet, when it comes to our level, mostly they're talking about values. Should not tell lies, should be like this, you should fear God, and things like that. Fear God, something that Jesus never taught. And as far as other religions are concerned, we better don't even mention. Now, when you're talking about the God, you have brought the abstract God to the level of generalization. You have pulled God down from being pure consciousness to being just a ruler who created this universe and who put the fear of original sin in your mind. And you have explained God, that is worse. Because a God explained is no God. How can he be God? He's a product of your mind. How can God be a product of your mind? These are such simple things, and unity is self-evolving, of which everything comes. Now, this thing that self-evolving cause we discussed in the previous talk, so we are not going to repeat it. Swamiji, this is one of the great contributions of Swamiji in philosophy, that is the self-evolving cause. There is Satchidananda, there is Brahman, there's ultimate truth. That's the ultimate truth because we have known that from the words of the sages who realize that. And they say that you too will realize the same. For some reason, that being Satchidananda, pure consciousness, it has all the power, it has all the knowledge. For some reason, we don't know why. Because mind is not there yet. It desires, I am one, I will be many. Not because he actually desired, because if he actually desired, there has to be somebody who would know that. This is the conclusion that we make from our standpoint when we look at the level of abstraction. The statements in the Upanishads or in the Vedas about that he desired that let I am one, may I be many. It is from our standpoint. In the Bible, when they say, God said, let there be light, it's a wish. God is not a person. We Vedantins, we understand. what that statement means, because that statement must have come from a great soul, from a great sage. Their followers don't understand. That is the that is the stage of Maya. When you say God said, "Let there be light," and there was light, exactly this is being told in Vedanta when they say God said that Satchidananda, God willed, I am one, may I be many. This will is the borderline of mind. Mind is now born. Maya is now into play. Avidya is now into play. The one we are talking from our standpoint, but that which was beyond one and two and zero, that now suddenly appears as many. If you want to understand the true spirit of any scripture of the world, you need to know Vedanta. If you know Vedanta, you'll be able to understand them. See, I hope nobody takes it personally. Once I was at one of our centers, Advaita Ashram in Kolkata, and on Christmas Eve, there was a very beautiful church in Intali. Intali is in Kolkata, and the fathers there had invited one of our monks to deliver a talk on famous word by Jesus, "I thirst." When I heard, I was so excited. And I told her, Swamiji, oh, Swamiji, I wish I had been invited to deliver this talk. I would have loved to discuss. I was very young in those days. In fact, I told that because I knew I will not be invited. There's no way. I was too young. But that sentence, "I thirst," shows how God behaves when he incarnates in a human form. Now that Swamiji, he was not really that learned and all. He told me, give me some points. So I went on telling about how he should approach, how Christianity needs to be understood through Vedanta and all the points. Now next day, messenger came from the church with a very clear message that you must confine your talk to the tenets of Christianity. And this Swamiji politely declined to go. Said not possible. Now we understand why Jesus said, "I thirst." But they don't want to understand this concept of Maya, according to which when God wills something, mind is formed. After that, you can ask questions. All your questions are bound within the realm of mind. You cannot ask anything that is beyond the mind. That unity is the self evolving cause from which everything comes. Now, physical science is to find out facts. Here comes. Swamiji is not talking about physics and metaphysics. Metaphysics is the thread to bind the flowers into a bouquet. So, physics goes by generalization. Metaphysics, it goes one step further back and views the entire thing. Those of you who have lots of questions based on science and religion, you'll find lots of material here. How we Vedantins look at religion. I don't know about we Vedantins. I can tell about myself, how I look at religion. So, why did Swamiji talk about meeting of science and religion? He said, provided science can go to that abstraction. But can science ever go to abstraction? I don't think so, because to go to that abstraction, you need to leap out of your mind. Now, there is an inner contradiction in that. Metaphysics is the thread that brings those things together into a bouquet. So it's just not possible for science to explain the universe the way Vedantins see. Vedantins see the ultimate unity, whereas science sees those unity at a slightly more evolved level. Science cannot say what happened before Big Bang. It's not possible for them. Physics cannot say what lies there beyond singularity because their equations fail. Equations have to fail. But we know what happens. What we know, they will not accept because equations which are actually representation of generalization will fail there. That is, they want to hold on to generalization. And we say that this is the point where generalization has to be given up and you need to go for abstraction. I'm not sure if I'm being abstruse. Well, I'm trying to explain things as best I can. Every abstraction is metaphysical, Swamiji says. Even putting manure at the root of a tree involves a process of abstraction. And this is a very complicated sentence. What exactly Swamiji meant, I really don't have any idea. But what I can understand is that when you manure plants, you have a particular desire, like you want flower, you want fruit, you want grains. And yet you know that manure cannot be put to those flowers, to those plants. You have to put manure at the root. That means there's a process involved according to which manuring of plants results in seeds, in grains or fruits or flowers. So there is some kind of abstraction. Think of the scientist who worked out the idea of photosynthesis. Well, it's such a great discovery because that is some kind of abstraction, not complete abstraction. Not the abstraction in the sense that Vedanta discusses, but in the sense that science discusses. Photosynthesis. There's sunlight and whole thing evolves. So Swamiji here says that putting manure is kind of abstraction because you are putting something into something with the expectation that the result will be something else. You are focusing actually on the result. You are not interested in the health of tree for the sake of its health. You are interested in the tree or the plant because you want something else. So there is some kind of abstraction involved. Religion includes the concrete. Now, this is the problem with religion. Whenever we think of religion, we think of rituals, we think of dogmas, we think of clannish mentality. Religion also takes the concrete. Unlike mathematics, for those of you who have some knowledge about mathematics at a slightly higher, that is class 9 and 10, you might remember that there were lots of equations and their examples were far fewer. When you were studying in class 3 and 4, they would give you different kinds of examples, not at higher level. It's more and more of abstraction. So as you go with mathematics or even physics, theoretical physics, there's more and more of abstraction in the form of equations. Religion is unique in the sense that it's about abstraction, God, and yet it's about concrete too. The more generalized and the ultimate unity. So religion takes the concrete, which is particular. It also takes the generalized, that is personal God, and ultimate unity, abstraction. Religion transcends every other branch of knowledge because religion has all three. It goes by particulars, that is concrete, rituals. No? Sometimes these young minds they come and say that why we have these stupid rituals. These rituals, these are concretized philosophy, and they hire a generalization. and beyond that is abstraction. Do not stick to particularizations. Get to the principle, to the one. When Swamiji is talking about principle, he is talking about abstraction. I'll just, we have just covered a topic, some sentences remain. I'll just see, in case you have any question related to this topic, please do not ask questions that are not relevant to this topic. So they mostly there are Pranam Maharaj, and now here is Abhijit Ruj, who is talking about Grihi Der Ki Habe Ki, Kriya Yog, Raj Yog, things you discuss. Who told you to practice Kriya Yoga, Raj Yoga? I am not a teacher of Kriya Yoga, Raj Yoga. I discuss Raj Yoga as a subject, not as a matter of practice. I don't know what kind of things you people discuss. It's amazing. Just to Mr. Ruj, you need to know quite a few things. You need to know what your scriptures say. You need to know what the scriptures of other religions say. But you will practice what your guru has taught you. I read all kinds of books. I've also written many different kinds of books. But as far as my sadhana is concerned, it is strictly what my guru taught. Simply because I have discussed Raj Yoga here, that doesn't make me practitioner of Raj Yoga. No, we don't. When I'm talking about Vedanta at this level, I don't practice all this. These things are a subject to us. Simply because we are discussing a subject, that does not mean that I have to practice that. I know it. Sadhana, sadhana is strictly according to what your guru has taught you, has asked you to do. Now, if you want Kriya Yoga and Raj Yoga, and I don't even know what Kriya Yoga is, because Kriya Yoga in Raj Yoga is something. Now, if Kriya Yoga is some sect, and my knowledge about these sects and gurus is extremely limited. I don't even know. Today, somebody asked me about some gentleman, some popular. I have no idea who he is. I'm not a newspaper vendor or a newspaper reporter that I would be knowing about all this. You want to know the spiritual truths. You want to know what the scriptures say, I'll tell you. In India, everyone is a guru. Everyone has something to say. So, anyway, in case you have any question, I've switched on the chat. You can put your question. But my request, once again, please ask questions related to the topic I am discussing. Particularization, generalization, abstraction. Anything outside that, I will not answer. Now, Swamiji is now once again discussing Christianity, where angels and devils they play such important roles, and angels are always doing us favors, saving us from problems, and these devils, they're always creating problems. See, whole of Western religion, whole of Western literature, whole of Western thought, it moves around devil, angel. To give you a very simple example, most popular books of present times, Harry Potter. It's about angelic forces and devilish forces. Do you find such stories in our Indian traditions? You know, Ravan is not driven by devilish force. He is not a devil. He has he has certain aspects of personality which we don't like. That doesn't make him a devil. Whole of Mahabharata, do you find anywhere the problem of, see, we have acquired these ideas from the West. If we go on talking about Ramayana, Mahabharata, it's about fight between the good and the bad. These ideas have come from Semitic religions. This is not our problem. But unfortunate that we the Hindus and we the Indians are, because we have not learned our own scriptures, we borrow ideas from others and go on parroting around without understanding it. We don't have this problem of good and bad. Whole of Purana, just go through Purana. We don't have that problem. There we have these asuras and daityas, but they are localized. They are not really devils and angels the way these people talk. And all this problem of angels and devil and the problem of continuous fight between the good and the bad, it has come from Zoroastrian. Those of you Zoroastrians, those of you who are interested, can read my book, The World of Religions. There you will find the whole thing explained beautifully. How can you have two different forces? If there is ultimate unity, you cannot have two forces. It has to be one. So Swamiji says, devils are machines of darkness, angels are machines of light. They are forced. Angels will always be angels, and devils will always be devils. We don't have this concept. We just don't have this concept. And they have this redemption and conversion and resurrection and all those. We don't have these problems. Unfortunately, today we have more superficial knowledge about the West than we have most of superficial of our own culture. And that's why the whole thing, we're in such a confused state, we know nothing. Indians say we believe in humanity, we don't believe in Hinduism. God knows whatever that might mean. I told somebody, I'm glad that you don't believe that you are not one, you are one with cows and buffaloes too. They are one humanity. They don't believe in Hinduism. And someday they will say that we don't believe in humanism. We believe in living beings. That is, they are one with even cows and buffaloes. Why think of Hinduism as a dogma? It is finest of literature. It is finest of scriptures. Why don't you try to understand? Why don't you try to read them? No, know the basics. We don't have this dichotomy of the good and the bad. But both are machines, Swamiji says. Man alone is alive. Break the machine. See, human beings, we are supposed to break the machine. For us, good is not good, bad is not bad. Because our goal is to go beyond mind. Good and bad belong to mind. Break the machine, strike the balance, and then men can become free. That is good and bad. These belong to mind. This is the only world where man can work out his salvation. Now, this is something which is a Vedantic standpoint, because when you go to gods, when you think of gods, or when you think of asuras, asuras are not devils the way the West produces, portrays it. So they're bound by their nature. A snake is bound by its nature. A cow is bound by its nature, not human beings. Human beings can be anything. They can be like serpents, they can be like tigers, they can be like cows, they can also be like asuras, and they can like be the gods. Oh, Viresh Bhan has made nice question, but your question is such that ultimate form of generalization is not really abstraction, is not really form of generalization. It is going beyond generalization. So, what science propounds is generalization of group of particularities. Your second part is absolutely correct. First part is slightly skewed. And then comes the famous statement from Kathopanishad, Yamai Vesabinute Tena Labhya. This is the statement in Kathopanishad. It says where Atman chooses someone, gets the knowledge. Whom the self chooses is true, Swamiji says. Election is true. Indeed, they are elected, they are called, they are selected. But put it within. Don't think of God outside who selects you. Say, many are called, few are chosen. You think of an external God who calls and who selects. No, not with us. Selections comes from within. Atman. Atman that is within you. Self that is within you chooses you. As an external and fatalistic doctrine, it is horrible. This is again an amazing statement from Swamiji. The moment you think of this election coming from outside, that is from God, the chosen one. Now, this chosen one is a Western concept, it's not an Indian concept. God has no favoritism. There cannot be any chosen one. Everyone is a chosen one. Everyone is a chosen one. So, as an external and fatalistic, sometimes I ask someone, look, why is it that you have not been coming to Belur Math? Oh, Thakur is not calling me. See, you are being fatalistic. It's horrible. All the power of goodness lies within. Everything is within. And that's why they say that uplift yourself by the power of yourself. Uddharet atmana atmanam na atmanam avsadhet. So well, so we talked about, Swamiji has been talking about quite a few things here, but mostly it's about abstraction. And abstraction is the key to the understanding of Vedanta. Once you can understand what abstraction means and what are its ramifications, then you will have understood Vedanta. And once you understand Vedanta, you will understand every other religion. So, with that, we end and we meet in the next talk once again. Thank you so much. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna.